Yeah, I think it is impossible to get around it. I can try not to be political and pick topics that are as apolitical as possible. Like, I want to talk about culture, history, AI, the future. But President Trump makes it almost impossible. He has this effect. This is the Trump effect. It was the same thing on his first term. Everything becomes about politics. You know, love it or hate it, politics becomes pop culture. It becomes the talk of the day. It becomes the top of the agenda. And there's just no way around it. And here we are, new war, this time with Iran. And this one trumps everything. This is the mother of all wars. We wait and see. Okay, so we're at war again. War again in the Middle East, again, and this time with the biggest country in the Middle East, Iran. And being of Persian heritage, I wanted to talk on the issue shortly. So I was born in Iran to Persian parents right after the Iranian Revolution. The Persians had overthrown the king and given power to the mullahs, the ayatollahs. And things got bad really fast. So when I was 4, my parents sent me out of the country because they didn't want me to grow up in that environment. And I grew up in Denmark. Grew up in a Danish orphanage. Don't ask how, don't ask why. Grew up in a Danish orphanage. Raised by Danish tutors. Raised by Danes, raised as a Dane. And when I became 20, I started traveling and I lived in the Middle East for some years. In those years, I got to know my Persian heritage much better. I got to know the culture, the struggle, the Iranian language, etc. Got to know this regime much better. Anyhow, for the past decade plus, I've been living in the US. Los Angeles, California. Yes, sir. So if I was to categorize myself, I would say I'm a Danish, Iranian, American. Emphasize the American. You see, I am of the belief that in Rome you do as Romans. Forget about the past. Past was whatever it was. We live in today. And today, my home is here in the US. This is what I will stand for. This is what I will fight for. This is what I will defend. I'm a strong believer in your alliance must lie with the country you live in, where your home is. And I say that because there is a lot of dual alliance in the world today. And I'm not going to get into that, but just wanted to put it in there. Anyhow, we're in war. But this war creates a dilemma. Because even with the belief that in Rome you do as Romans, your alliance lies with the country you live in, true. This war has more deep-rooted problems, because I do not see how the US benefits from this. With all the problems that we have here at home, division, inflation, corruption, we are talking about being at the brinks of civil war. How is this war going to help us? How is another Middle Eastern war going to help us? There is no reason given for the war. And I don't think anyone is capable of giving a reason. And that's why we're hearing religious doctrine for justification of this war. In 2026, you have a religious doctrine to justify a war. That is an insult, not only because I'm an atheist. This must be an insult even to the religious people. This is how Jesus comes back. This is sad. They didn't even take the time to give us a moral narrative for the war, not even to create the optics for why it is justified to go into this war. And so we are left standing where we have to cheer for US because this is our home, yet we don't really understand what it is that we are cheering for. And it doesn't help that the other side keeps saying this is the war of the Epstein class. Look, at the end of the day, the best thing we got is this: we're doing it for the Iranian people so they can be free. So the only thing left for us to feel proud about is that we will be freeing the Iranian people. And by the looks of it, Americans are not really that excited about it. It's not like, and I understand because we have so many problems here at home, it's difficult to be generous. But nevertheless, the notion of bringing freedom to the Iranian people, like we have seen the Persian diaspora abroad rallying around the notion of war and for the US to engage and bomb Iran and overthrow this regime. And since the war started, we have heard nothing but praises from the Iranian diaspora for President Trump and Netanyahu and so on and so forth. And if it is a question mark for anyone out there, like non-Persians, for why that is so, allow me to explain shortly, because like I understand them, really I do. This regime is the worst thing that could have happened to Iran, to the Iranian people, to a culture and to a people that was rich, intelligent, prosperous, that just wanted to live the good life. A Islamic theocracy that just kept them down and destroyed the culture and the chances of prospering to the extent that this regime did. This regime is evil. Like the things that is attributed to this regime is not far off from the truth. And for 40 years, the Iranian people, the Persians, have been praying for the downfall of this regime. But at the same time, it has also been an understanding and a belief of the people that this objective is impossible to reach by the people. And it's not because the lack of trying, it's actually the quite opposite. They've tried and they've been killed and jailed and tortured, and so they've come to the conclusion that reaching this objective is impossible by the people. Outside forces, the international community, the United States must intervene, and they must do the regime change. So this war is the realization of a dream, of a long lived dream of the Persian people for freedom. Okay? So that's the reason for them being so happy about this war. But like always, the devil is in the details. See, when I say that the devil is in the details, it's because so the Iranian people want to be rid of this regime. Okay, all right. You want to be rid of this regime. But you want to be rid of this regime so you can create a democratic, a prosperous, a strong Iran. You want to return to the days of glory, like back in the history. That is the problem. Because if you look around in the region, who else would want that? Like, do we really think that the other countries in the region would like for Iran to become a capable opponent of theirs? Or would they rather have a weak Iran, weaker than it is? Which one do you think? Like, logically, they would want a weaker Iran so they could manipulate, so they could exploit, so they could take. It's better for their national benefit. Of course. I'm not even blaming them. Right? So, the dream that the Iranian people have is a bit unrealistic. At this point, I don't see any bright future for this war, at least from the Iranian perspective. I don't see any good outcome. And I'm telling you, Iran becoming a vassal state at this point is a good outcome for this war. Because, truth be told, I only predict destruction, devastation. I see the Iranian people being worse off. So even the notion of me doing this for the Iranian people is, at least for me, it's a hoax. It's a hoax. The same for the Iranian people, even if the Iranian people don't understand that themselves. That's what I understand. Listen, at this point, talks about the outcome of the war is a moot point. It's a waste of breath. It was good conversation before the war. And trust me, I had the discussion with friends and acquaintances a lot before the war. War was just a probability, and my main argument was, think about the outcome. You know, okay, you topple this regime, what then? But now that the war has started, it's like, just look at it. 5 days in, they've set ablaze to the whole region. Whole Middle East is burning in fury. One could say this war hasn't even begun yet. 5 days in, this war is the mother of all wars. The Europeans, the Russian, and the Chinese haven't even entered this war yet. They will. Just wait and see. At this point, we can only hope for a miracle. Hope for a miracle, because as stated before, this regime will kill everything in its path before it accepts defeat. The doctoring or the ideology, the mentality of you may take me down, but I will take everyone with me. That's what's going on here. 5 days in, 5 years to come.